What's up, creative family? This is Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet, and your host for Emerging Media Makers. This show was created to highlight community members who might even be living right next door to you, who have taken BronxNet's media and training classes and become certified access producers. We've got some amazing folks for you to meet today. So while we're here in Studio A, Windows on the Bronx, at BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios right here in the South Bronx, let's start the show.
It's been a long time since the Bronx was burning. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the rich stories from our community continue to captivate and entertain audiences from the Bronx and beyond. Welcome to Emerging Media Makers. This show was created to shine a light on the talent and vision of BronxNet's access producers. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
What's up, creative family? Welcome back to the show. I'm Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet, and your host for Emerging Media Makers. Our goal is to shine a light on the amazing talents of our certified producers, as well as to introduce you to how easy it is to get your creative ideas in front of the world. By participating in one of our certification classes, you too could become a producer of your own show at one of our 3 BronxNet TV locations. We have studios at Mercy College in Westchester Square, in Carmen Hall on the campus of Lehman College, and here at BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx. We have certification classes in field production and in studio production that will teach you the basics of TV production, plus a host of other classes that support you on your journey of content creation. Everyone starts off with a free class called Masterclass, How to Unleash Your Ideas. In this class, you'll get an overview of how previously certified community members have gone on to produce their own original programming. We also leave time to hear your questions and help you move on to classes that are best suited for your specific needs and goals. If you're a person who is hesitant to take that first step into TV production because perhaps you don't want to be in front of the camera or you don't want to be a host, then rest assured there are several positions available that need your support, like audio engineering, set design. Maybe you want to operate a camera or do floor management. There's so much that you can choose from. Check out BronxNet.org/education for more information and find out how easy it is to start producing your original idea for the Bronx and beyond. When we come back, we're starting off with an origin story about the original production of Emerging Media Makers and how our re-envisioned show is happening at a pivotal time for our roster of certified producers. We'll be right back. On today's show, we will be highlighting 2 amazing people. Up first is Mr. Bernardo Moronta, Director of Programming here at BronxNet. Bernardo Moronta has headed the programming department at BronxNet for 7 years, overseeing content strategy, scheduling, quality control, and master control for 6 multi-platform channels that reach a global audience of millions. Bernardo is a triple media threat with 28 years of experience in TV, radio, and streaming, which is only appropriate because not only does he have an amazing wife and awesome son, but he also has triplet daughters. Aye! During his spare time, Bernardo enjoys watching random Instagram reels, going down pop culture Wikipedia rabbit holes, and running his critically acclaimed online radio station, AmazingLightMusic.com. Without any further ado, let's welcome Bernardo to the show. What's up, brother?
How are you, man?
All right, it's so good to see you, man. Thanks so much for being on the show.
No problem.
Your show, right? You were the original host of Emerging Media Makers, and I want people to know that, and I want them to know the origin of this story, because now we're starting out fresh.
Yep.
And, you know, we've got new producers that we're bringing in that have come in the last couple of years. So can you take us back and talk to us about when you first, with the team, created Emerging Media Makers?
Here we go, all the way back to 2018, 17. So it started as a project that we wanted to use to inspire people to create new content. So people used to make pilots, they would take the class, make pilots, and maybe not necessarily go on to the next step, or they would maybe not create a pilot. So there were different levels of involvement, and we wanted to kind of inspire everyone to submit new content and create their pilot and just create new content for programming.
Yeah.
So as a team, so it was myself, Mr. Phil Lane, let's see who else. It was Audrey Duncan, our Director of Community Affairs, Phil Lane, our Director of Finance and Business Affairs, Leo Mary Rodriguez, who was with us back then on the programming team as a content acquisitions coordinator, and then Ramon Torres, who worked with you in the education department. He was our education manager at that time. We all as a group, as a collective, came up with Emerging Media Makers. We all produced it. Everybody had a different role.
Yeah.
You know, I think Ramon used to edit. Leo Mary would deal with the coordination of guests.
Right.
You know, I was hosting it and producing it, and Phil and Audrey were producing it as well. So everybody came together to make this awesome product just to get people to submit content. And it started out as a different idea. Originally, it was supposed to be that we would feature the pilots that were in production. Like we would show like clips of pilots that were in the pipeline. And then it evolved to this other grander idea of just featuring and focusing on individual hosts / producers that have taken the class and used that education to create their content. So.
Which is powerful. And I mean, like, I want to just say really quick and give light to something he was just saying is that, you know, all of the people that he just mentioned, their number one job was not actually creating television. They're, you know, Audrey, like everybody has a different role, but here in public access, we all chip in, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people know that we have classes that will train them and prepare them for their show. We want to know that they have a voice. We want to know that after taking those certifications, you have the opportunity to have your show on one of 6 different stations, right? So we heard in your bio that you're actually a really successful radio guy, right? So can you tell me a little bit about that, and how did you make your transition over to television?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've done media for a long time, but I did start in radio. So my first experience was actually in the Bronx. I was part of the college radio team at the University of Mount St. Vincent in Riverdale. So that's where I got my first chops. I had my own radio show. I was a college DJ. And I went on to become sports director, general manager, program director. And that's kind of like where it started. I really grew a really strong passion for audio and for radio at Mount St. Vincent. And then I sent out my demo tape. That's how it works in radio. You splice together a demo tape, or splicing, listen to me, like, you know, old school, you know, but you would put your demo tape together, send it out. So I got hired on at 92.7 WIR, which is a legendary alternative rock station. And that was my first experience. And it went from there. I just got better and better and got onto other markets. I was on the air on the Jersey Shore on a top 40 station. I was on the air in other stations on Long Island. LIR was a Long Island station. I've been on the air in, let's see, Jersey Shore, Long Island, New York. I made it to New York. I was briefly on the air in New York on a Spanish language station.
Oh man, that's amazing.
So yeah, so it was awesome. And then I went on to be a program director in radio as well, music director, assistant program director. I've done it all. You know, I've edited, produced, blah, 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 yada, yada. And then what happened was, you know, I decided to transition over to television. So it was time. 2017, BronxNet came calling. And here I am. I've been here ever since. And yeah.
So then what are some of the similarities of what you were doing before? Was there like a lot of knowledge that you could carry over into television from the work that you were doing? Or was it like really new and fresh and you had to like come up with like all of these different definitions of everything?
Yeah.
You know, like how was the transition for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, at first it was definitely, I think in the beginning I had to really soak up a lot of knowledge and really learn from people around me and really immerse myself. So because there were a lot of things that were similar and a lot of things that were different. Yeah. You know, so definitely there were a lot of transferable skills, but there were a lot of things I didn't know. So it was just, this is a great place to learn, a great place to just soak everything up and learn from other people that have been doing it longer and really just, you know, eventually you get to that place where you want to be, you know, and this is why that's the magic of BronxNet. Yeah.
That is true. That is true. I mean, like, I think it's hard for people to recognize that even when you come into a creative environment like this, it's educational for the community, but it's also educational for us as well, right? So I think that's what keeps us like so engaged and wanting to promote people because we understand the experience that the community is going through. So talk to me a little bit about your family. Do you have a lot of support at home? Like,
Absolutely.
How does your family play a role in the work that you do, especially with triplets? Like, how do you balance all of this?
Not easily. We have a family calendar that we all keep, to know who's going to practice when and what's going on, and it's crazy. Yeah, so I have triplets, which is that I have to really use my time management skills, project management skills for to be able to manage a family of 6. And how many pets? I don't even know. I lost count at this point. 15 million cats and 15 million dogs, and yeah, but it's a challenge. But my wife and I are really, 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 really just a tight-knit, really professional team, really good team, and professional in the sense that it's almost like a job, right? To have to figure out who has to go where, who has to do what. So we really just use our calendar to manage everything, and yeah, that's pretty much.
So do you have any kids that you think might come into entertainment in its many different forms, whether it's television or radio or movies or voiceover work? Are any of them interested in the arts?
We thought about putting them in modeling when they were little, but it didn't go in any direction. But no, not really. I mean, we have one that might want to get into sports business or something like that, but not really. Not really. I think. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go in that direction.
And it's funny, I can hear the dad exhale, thank God, I don't want that anyway. Because the entertainment industry is it can be a little bit crazy.
It can be challenging, right? Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, listen, if they go in that direction, I'll fully support them. Yeah. But if they don't, that's totally cool. I mean, it's whatever makes them happy.
That's
my wife and I are very big about that. Whatever makes you happy, that's what you should do. If it's media, great. We have the experience, you can lean on us for whatever. But if you don't want to go in that direction, you want to go in business or whatever, because we have one that wants to be a psychologist, nice. Another one, or a neuroscientist or psychologist. Another one wants to be in business. Mm-hmm. And there's another that maybe wants to be in business as well. We have another one that's all about marine biology and marine science and marine life. So everybody has their own interests. So and listen, life is young, so they may want to go in a different direction.
That's
they
right.
may want to do something else. So.
Well, because we don't live at a time anymore where you spend 40 years in the same place doing the same thing, right? Those days are gone. So then, as you think about your work here at BronxNet, what is something that is? I know there's a lot of cool things you do because I work with you, and everybody's not they're not going to know all those details all the time. What is something that you're really proud of that you've accomplished while you're here at BronxNet? And then I'm going to circle that with, kind of tell us where Bernardo is shooting. What's something that you would really like to accomplish, whether it's here at BronxNet during your time working here, or even beyond that, off in the future? What have you done that you feel really proud about? And then, what's that thing that you're still pushing for?
Wow, okay, so really, I mean, there's multiple things I'm proud about. There's so many different things. I've been involved with so many different projects and initiatives, but probably the biggest thing is COVID. During COVID, we maintained operations and didn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
Everything just kept chugging along. We stayed on the air. We continued receiving programming from our community. We continued producing shows in-house, and everything just kept going on. Even during this tumultuous time where
everything was uncertain. We didn't know
no one
anything.
knew what was going to happen next. Yeah, it was
That's
great.
right.
Exactly.
That's right.
So I'm really proud of how the team came together during that really challenging time. And in terms of what I'm looking forward to, I'm project managing the Creatives Rebuild New York grant at this time, and it's going to wrap up in a couple of months. And I'm really looking forward to some projects that we have in cooking in that end. On that end, we have a children's puppet show that we're working on.
Yes.
We have Quick to Rock, which viewers have probably seen already. That's a great show. So projects like that. Live art competition season 2 is coming up. We have a video game that one of our artists is working on.
Oh, that's dope.
It's mixed reality, and it's really cool. And yeah, there's all these different Creatives Rebuild New York projects. I'm really looking forward to seeing them land, coming to conclusion, and seeing the final product.
Well, I mean, and after so much time goes into prep and pre-production and the meetings and the conversations, it isn't just sitting down and then all of a sudden you have a show, which I think is, something we also want the community to recognize, that while we don't feel like it is overly cumbersome, we will guide you through those first few steps on what you need to know in order to bring your show to the world. So I would just like to wrap up with saying, Bernardo was one of the people prior to me working at BronxNet, when I worked at the Department of Education, Bernardo was one of the first people that I actually interacted with over the phone. We had never met each other. We worked together for 2 years on a show, producing in the background, and then finally got a chance to meet each other face to face. So I know that I would not be as successful here had I not had Bernardo to like lean on and call and ask like, okay, bro, what does this mean? Okay, what are they asking me to do? And so I thank you for that, because it's been just a phenomenal experience working with you, and I thank you for being willing to allow me to, host this season of Emerging Media Makers. That means a lot to me, and I know your heart and my heart are in the same place when we talk about how much we want to promote the general community members that you can see behind us driving by or walking by on the sidewalk when they are ready to take step one. So we hope that you'll be able to see our love for you and our desire to have you be here in one of our TV studios as a part of the work that we're doing. After these messages, we'll be back with another guest who is Miss Kitty Rose from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle. Please stay with us. We'll see you soon. I'm Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet, and your host for this amazing show, Emerging Media Makers. And we are now about to enter the Kitty Rose Lifestyle. Catherine Warren founded her multi-level consultant and media company to touch the heart of community issues through art and entertainment. They specialize in working with community organizations geared toward the empowerment of people of color. In 2016, she became a New York community field and studio producer for public access TV and has hosted and created 2 weekly talk shows. The purpose of these conversations are to create action plans of solutions to life. The next chapter is a late-night weekly hour-long series on New York public access TV and YouTube. The show actually has a daily potential viewership of 4.7 million viewers. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and meet Catherine Warren, who is better known to us as Miss Kitty Rose. Hey, Kitty, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, Timothy.
Oh, man, I'm so excited for the community. For those who don't know you in the community, all right, let me correct myself.
Come on
to get
now.
a chance to actually know you and to hear from you. And so one of the things that I want to start with is, why do you feel like it's so important to have an opportunity to share your voice?
Well, first let me thank you for allowing me to come on your new season of Emerging Media Makers. I'm so excited. I love this program and the idea that you guys have to showcase public access producers. I love it so much, I actually thought I was on the first season. But to answer your question, why do I feel like it's so important to have a voice? Crazy enough, I really didn't think it was important. What I think is important is listening to your purpose and listening to why you're here.
That's right.
And from early on, I have had the Holy Spirit guide me and instruct me to be a voice. It's funny, my grandmother said I didn't talk for the first 2 years. But as soon as I started talking, I haven't shut up. And it was so funny that when the Care Bears came out, I used to get laughed and called talk a lot because I just always had something to say.
Yeah.
And then in my family, I became that person, even growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, who always had a question. I was never one who was just okay with just whatever was told to me. I always wanted to know why more. And I think that type of questioning gave me a voice that represented others who wanted to question but didn't feel comfortable enough to say something. And fighting this for years, eventually falling on my butt, after doing everything else for other people, the Creator finally called to me where I was able to hear and say, people aren't attracted to the product you're serving or selling. People are connected or attracted to you.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
had to learn that, and then once I realized that people were connected to me because I had this gift or this ability, then I realized, okay, how do I now hone into that gift so that it doesn't just go to waste, or I'm just out here willy-nilly talking about anything I want to talk about, but actually being guided by the Holy Spirit and using this gift as a real tool.
That's powerful, right? That's really powerful. I think it shows a lot of wisdom. That you take a minute to reflect also on like what it is you're actually putting out into the community. So how did you find out about BronxNet, and like what was it that made this the place? You know, I know, you know, and we'll talk in a few minutes about the fact that you make television for different boroughs, right? Like we don't get to claim you as just our own, even though we want to. But like, what brought you to BronxNet, and why? How did you wind up here, and why did you stay?
But you kind of can claim me. Because as a Bronx resident and someone who has lived in the Bronx the last 25 years and really did nothing in the Bronx, didn't connect to any organizations in the Bronx, didn't connect to any community work in the Bronx, I really just lived here, you know, and then raised my children. And I was fortunate to raise my children in an area where they were safe and they're going to school, but it was still a different type of community. Right. So I was very opposed to doing anything in the Bronx. I was like, I don't see my people, you know what I'm saying? I don't see my shade. But once I start to get past that, and yes, be successful in other boroughs, I realized that why are you not taking advantage of where you live? As a businesswoman, I was not taking advantage of grants or programs from minority women or just in my community. So I had a mentor in Harlem who put a camera in my hand. And when I started to figure out what that next transition or chapter in my life was going to be, it only made sense when I found out, or kind of already knew about BronxNet, but didn't find out any details. Once I took the time to say, well, you know what? It's time to start investing in the Bronx. What can the Bronx offer you as a small business? What can the Bronx offer you as a woman in business? What can the Bronx offer you as a woman of color in business? So when BronxNet came under one of those lists in becoming a public access producer so you can have a voice, I was like, oh wait, have a voice?
Right.
Equipment? Studio? Television? Because I had already told people I was going to be on TV.
Right.
And nobody believed me, you know, and didn't necessarily know that this was going to be where I started, but I already knew.
Because everybody thinks they're going to go from their couch to Netflix, to CBS.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't take enough advantage of what's right here in their backyard, where you can hone your skills and get the training that you were talking about.
So in 2016, I registered at Lehman, did my first of series of classes, did my studio production class. My teacher, Furman, was so amazing, where I just wanted to learn more. And yes, it made sense to learn other skill sets in the other boroughs, but to be honest with you, no one took care of me like the Bronx. I was able to definitely benefit being broadcasted on the other networks. But when it came to every time leaving, to go to record or do anything at those other networks, eventually I always came back home to BronxNet. And when COVID hit, I was against the Zoom world. I was against StreamYard. And BronxNet was the last to open back up. However, it was still home.
Right.
So when I came back to BronxNet, to the studio, what happens at BronxNet is that because BronxNet also kind of guides you with a production crew somewhat, even though we're obligated to create our own crews and we still have to do that, their assistance kind of makes it more of a family type of programming where it's just not the access producers. We actually have the expertise of BronxNet staffing with the access producers that kind of gives us that really assurance of a quality program.
That's right. That's right. And I think, you know, in another show that I was hosting for BronxNet, I gave them a chance to meet a lot of the people that are like in the background.
Yes.
Right? And doing set and lights and audio and this and that. So what is your, like if you were to project yourself 5 years from now, like what is your goal for Miss Kitty Rose and the Kitty Rose lifestyle? Like, where do you see yourself? Let's throw it out into the universe and kind of let people know the vision, because I know a lot of folks are going to start finding you online now. And, you know, you've got this 4.7 million potential viewership, right? So I mean,
and people don't realize that coming on public access, you are open yourself up to all of the viewers or homes that is in that city that you represent.
That's right. That's right. And 1.5 million people just here
Come
in the
on.
Bronx.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's powerful when you have an opportunity and when you recognize and own the opportunity to put positive things out into the community. You can actually start to affect other people's lives without even, going through all the rigmarole of like being in the movies and flying, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
And
you
I
can do it
get
from
my
right here.
neighbors all the time. Oh, I love you. I saw you on TV. Oh, girl, your content.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the people your own age group, but ain't nothing like the elders coming to tell you,
Yes.
oh, child, I love what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Oh, you're so beautiful.
I love
mean,
it.
it's it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing anything in vain.
That's right. So then what comes next? Where are we going to be? Where are we going to see Kitty in 5 years?
So in 5 years,
Yes.
Because time is an illusion, what's next for me is definitely continuous bringing great content that can affect change and to heal us. That is my objective, to create content to heal us. We're having the conversations, but we're not really having the tools. So I want to expand my audience. I want to get from 4.7 million people on television to 4.7 million in person. I want to be Joe Osteen at Yankee Stadium, baby.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I also like what BronxNet teaches you about control. So I don't know if this is 5 years, but eventually I would really like to be the next Oprah, the next Tyler Perry, the next BronxNet, not necessarily for public government programs, but a place where content creators can feel like they can have a voice to create stuff that is meaningful for them. Sometimes what happens is ownership.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's
So
right.
sometimes we have these ideas and these visions and these dreams, but the ones that own it, their agenda doesn't match our agenda. So I want to be able to create a place for people like myself to have the power to create their own thing and be okay with where they're at in their life with it. And I think that's the other part. We're not always okay with, we want instant gratification.
That's just society, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's everybody. You want your mac and cheese in a microwave, which is so gross. Just
Right.
like you want it in 3 minutes. I don't know. So listen, folks, we could talk forever with Miss Kitty Rose. I would love for you to tune in to her show. Can you tell them when to find your show on BronxNet?
Yes, I can. Saturdays at 11 p.m. every Saturday. I may be changing, but no time soon, because we are a late night show.
Yes.
But for some reason, I guess as I'm evolving, some of the ways I used to talk on late night, I don't do as much anymore. So, programming is looking at me right now, thinking about changing my time slot. But as of now, Saturdays at 11 o'clock.
Saturdays at 11 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Catherine Warren, a.k.a. Miss Kitty Rose of the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, right here on BronxNet. Another person consciously reclaiming the story of the Bronx, doing what she was put on this earth to do, which is live her purpose by spreading positivity through media. We will be right back after these messages. Hey, Creative Family, thank you so much for joining us for this first episode of Season 2 of Emerging Media Makers. We got a chance to meet Bernardo Moronta, our Director of Programming here at BronxNet, and also Catherine Warren, Miss Kitty Rose of the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, one of our certified access producers. Just know, we want you to come and take classes. We want you to come and become certified. We want you to bring your original ideas right here to the Bronx and beyond. You already have everything that you need. Just bring your ideas. We'll make sure that you get all the training that is necessary so that this doesn't feel so crazy, all right? Of all the things that are trying to pull at your focus, I want you to know that I appreciate your attention. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode. God bless.